Hello and welcome to the Gus's Barbell Club podcast. Joining me for this, our inaugural episode, is Andrew Lewis, the owner and head coach at Starting Strength Indianapolis. Andrew's been coaching barbell training using the Starting Strength method for 8 years. He graduated with a BS in mechanical engineering, worked in a steel mill melt shop for 5 years, during which time he started his first gym called Black Metal Strength Training. In 2022, he moved to Indianapolis to open Starting Strength Indianapolis, the only starting strength gym in Indiana. He has a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a yellow belt in Judo, and a green belt in Six Sigma. If you need to get stronger, Andrew is the guy to talk to and get coaching from. In this episode, we talk about the starting strength methodology, coaching the barbell lifts, juggling training goals with priorities outside the gym, and the two biggest things that have sparked the large growth in strength training that we've seen in the 2020s. If you're in Louisville, Kentucky, you can start your training journey by visiting gus.coach and sign up for a free no-sweat intro. Enjoy today's conversation with Andrew Lewis. Why don't to start, you explain what a starting strength gym is like for folks that may not be aware of it?
That's a really good prompt, because a lot of people, when they hear about a starting strength gym, or they even hear about what we're doing, which is barbell-based personal training in a group setting, a lot of times they imagine either a CrossFit, or they imagine like a big open public gym where people are kind of doing whatever on their own, or they like, I've heard all sorts of things, and then when people finally get in the gym, they're like, oh, I get it now. So that's a really good prompt. Visually, you'll see on either side there are platforms with a rack, and there's a main entrance way, but that's about it. There's like a lobby, but there's no front desk. You see TVs on the left side that show the workouts people are going to do that day for the next session, and you see kind of the leaderboard of what our strongest lifters are lifting. And then you see these rows of racks and platforms, and everybody gets their own rack. So common thing, if you were a member, is you'd come in, you would pick out your rack, and you go and you kind of get your setup. You drop your stuff off, you put your keys up on the shelf, and then you write your workout up on the board with just your work sets, your squat, press, deadlift, and then you start warming up. And of course, like, we greet you and we help you with all that stuff and everything. But that's kind of the idea. It's kind of what happens when people come in. So if you were going to come in the middle of a session, what you'd see between 2 and 7 people working out, and 1 to 3 coaches walking around helping coach work sets, explaining things, coaching warm-ups, things like that. And they'd all be doing barbell training.
One of the things I've always kind of been taken by the few starting strength gyms I've been in is how it feels like it's so well put together and clean. But then as barbell focused trainers, we also, like, there's chalk everywhere. You kind of can't be scared to get grimy and sweaty. Like, it's still like a very hard environment. But then you walk into these gyms and it's a nice juxtaposition of like, we'll clean it up. It looks nice. It's classy. It's quality. But like, get ready to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely it definitely has that kind of boutique feel of that cleanliness and that orderliness, but you still got to do the work, but that's inherent in the process. It doesn't have to be grimy and dirty, which, like, people like you and me, we've kind of come from that and been used to it. Like, you kind of just accept it, especially like when I was first starting out, that was just what you had to deal with, because public gyms suck and they're so frustrating. And the barbells might not be straight and the plates might not be accurate. And you've got, well, now, the last time I was in a public gym about 1.5 years ago, there were 3 people with DSLR cameras and tripods, like professional photography. Yeah. And I'm just trying to get a workout in. You know what I mean? Right. Like, they're doing like professional videos and pictures and stuff.
It's a movie set.
That's what, yeah.
It's gonna be an extra on a movie set.
Yes, I feel like I'm imposing on their Instagram recording. And and the starting strength gyms are just very, very different from that. Everyone's there to work, and it's very friendly. Like, we've created a really good community at Starting Strength Indianapolis, and it's a lot of fun, but everyone is there to do their workouts and focused on that. And the environment, the gym itself, facilitates that. So something that I've said before about the gyms is, the gym, the equipment in the gym is not the product. The product is the coaching, and the gym is the setting and the delivery mechanism of that coaching. It facilitates that. So we do have extremely high quality equipment, and we have high quality everything at the gym actually. But that's the point, is not the equipment. That just creates this distraction free environment in which you can focus on getting stronger and getting better.
Right. What I've been noticing running my small gym, I have one platform. I'm doing one at a time, so it's all geared toward coaching privately. But I really do envy the ability to create that community.
Oh yeah,
and
very important.
Given that everybody is still at their own place in their own program, just because I'm bench pressing today doesn't mean Joe across on the other platform is. How do you make sure that they still feel like it's a community when they do come in for their class time, even though we're not all doing the same thing?
Well, first of all, you've identified a really key difference between the small group training that we do and the small group training that a lot of other places do. Because a lot of other places will have a single workout that everyone is doing that might be scaled. But that's not what we do. Everyone has all their own stuff. And so if one person doesn't show up and they go another day, they still have their workout that they're going to do. And it's the same workout. And if they can't make it today but can come in tomorrow, they're still going to do that same workout, and everyone else is still going to do the workout they were going to do. It's not bound together. And so in that sense, it is personalized training. So the way that we create that sense of community is kind of just, it's an everyday thing. So our coaches are friendly. When you come in, we're going to greet you. We're all inherently interested as well. Like we have a lot of members, and despite the fact that we have a bunch of members, there's not one member that I can't speak positively about, that I enjoy being around, that I enjoy spending, an hour to 90 minutes with. And we can talk about their family, and we can talk about what they got going on in their training and everything. And like I was saying, because of the rest aspect of it, you have to rest 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 7 minutes, something in between your work sets. So during that time, a lot of times the members are interacting. They're talking about what they're doing on the weekend, what they did last time. A lot of them become really good friends, and they end up making plans to go out and do stuff. And people are joking around and telling stories and stuff, and so that kind of becomes part of it. The rest kind of creates this environment in which, you're just sitting there waiting for your ATP to replenish.
Right.
And, you're just like, and then you just start talking to people and hanging out, and people become good friends. So
it's kind of funny. I never thought about it as like, you're coming for the strength and you stay for the rest.
Yeah. Well, the model, it's interesting that the model, the training model has inherently affected the business model. And then just like people's environments. And actually we just got this new member who, she's never done anything like this before with strength training. She does Pilates, and she's always done like cardio stuff and yoga and running and jogging and walking and biking and stuff like that. And so like when we told her, like, all right, now like you need to rest for 3 minutes, and she was like, oh, okay. And then she gets under the bar, and we're like, no, you need to sit here and do nothing for the next 3 minutes. In fact, you should sit down.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, this is great. Like, this is awesome. I love, like,
this I'm allowed to have a sip of Gatorade. Yeah. Really?
Yeah. Well, no, what we tell them is, no, it's not that you get to, you must. This is mandated rest.
Yeah.
You have to do this. This is an inherent, this is just the same as you doing your warm-ups, or you putting on your shoes, or you doing your work sets. This is part of the process.
Right.
And a lot of people don't get that. And I would say, especially like, when you go on the Starting Strength forums, one of the three major questions, and if you stop making progress, one of the three questions is how long are you resting in between your work sets. And it's one of the three main questions because it comes up all the time where people are not resting long enough. And so they don't have enough energy to finish the set, even though they feel good going into the set, and then the set doesn't go well. So you can't really trust kind of how you feel in terms of when you feel well rested to be able to actually do your sets.
How do you manage that when a member, like the next step they need is to increase their rest intervals? Like we can their next day of programming makes total sense so long as they add another 2 minutes of rest. But if they've only got that same hour, at some point this is going to come in conflict, right? And it's our job in programming this is to like figure that solution out for them. What is the benefit and what do we change? But do you have any examples of how you've solved that kind of problem before, since we're talking about rest?
The first thing that we usually do is it doesn't come up super often. It's more of it happens is when someone's in a hurry, when they're like, I got to be out in 50 minutes. I can't be taking 70 minutes to do my workout. It's got to take 50 minutes. So usually there's some sort of external kind of objective or constraint that goes along with that. But usually the first thing we do is we'll have them warm up their next exercise in between their work sets.
Okay.
So let's say you have 3 sets of squats, and you do 3 sets of 5, and you're going to take 5 minutes of rest in between that, or maybe 7 minutes of rest in between that, depending on who the trainee is. So in between your first and second work set, you do 2 sets of presses with the bar, and then you sit, and then you do your next work set of squats, and then you do 2 more warm-ups with the press, and then you do your final work set of squats, and then you do your final warm-up of the press. You wait a couple minutes, and then you do your first work set, and that usually saves about 5 minutes per exercise. Now there's going to be a seeming contradiction here of like, well, we just said there's mandated rest, so why are you now having them do stuff? And it works out well because usually you're going from a lower body lift to an upper body lift to a lower body lift. And really these are like whole body exercises. So that's kind of an oversimplification, but you can kind of get away with it, especially when you factor in the fact that they went from 5 minutes of doing nothing to 7 minutes of doing light warm-ups on the upper body lift. And also most of that is also doing nothing because you're not constantly warming up for 7 minutes. You're doing like a minute and a half of warm-ups, and then you're still sitting for that full 5 minutes.
It's almost like there are other philosophies that try to get you like stretching. Anytime you're not moving, you're doing some kind of stretching. And it's like, well.
Oh, are there?
Yeah. Well, so you go to enough CrossFit gyms, right? And it becomes very clear that everybody has there's a very tribalness about how you're supposed to do that kind of training. But one thing that seems pretty confident is everybody feels like the product that people are buying when they sign up for that gym is not necessarily the coaching. It's like a good sweat for an hour.
Yeah, it's constant action.
Constant movement. So if I'm telling them to rest for 3 minutes, even if I am doing a good heavy back squat workout, which they're only doing for the first time in 6 weeks, so how well is it really anyway? If I'm doing that, then they feel like, well, if I'm not kind of letting them get a little toasted, then I have to add something. But I can't push them too hard because they got to do this lift. So let's throw in some mobility. Let's throw in some
make them feel like
long
something.
stretch. Yeah, make them feel like it's like a mind trick, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, I find I kind of find that patronizing, honestly, because when we have our first conversation, we explain the entire method that we do. This is like the first day. So if you come in, you're not going to come in for your first session having already paid. We do a free kind of assessment and also lifting and talk about your goals and stuff when you come in. And during that, I explain the whole process, and I explain that it is a process. It's a multi-workout process. And the point is not to get a benefit out of today. It's about accruing benefit over time. So like I worked out this morning and I had a good workout and I feel good, and that's great. But we're not chasing that inherently. We are trying to accrue physiological adaptation. We're trying to accrue increments of strength, little bits of increased strength over time that add up to big changes in strength. And so resting makes sense when that's like your premise. And if someone's like, well, why do I have to rest for 5 minutes? It's like, well, remember what we talked about last session. Remember we talked about the first session, that the point is that you need to have enough energy in order to do the next set in order to get stronger. Like, it's weird for someone to come in and pay, personal trainers charge like $100, $120 an hour. Right. If not more, in Indianapolis anyway. And we charge about $37 a session for an hour and a 90-minute session. And it is kind of odd to pay, like, for those personal trainers, like $1,200 a month and then not listen to their advice. You know what I mean? And I understand, I understand doing it once. I wouldn't understand doing it for like session after session, month after month kind of thing. Now that said, like, we love getting input from our lifters because a lot of times they have other things going on that we don't really know about. And so like if they're like, hey, I was thinking about, what do you think of us trying this? Then we can have a discussion about it, and it's a lot more guided than it is like mandated, or like it's not like an edict. It's like this decision we come to together with us as the experienced professionals to provide guidance. And so like, for example, we have a pregnant woman. We have 2 pregnant women who actually train right now. They started training with us, they got pregnant, and they're still pregnant for the time being, and they're still training with us. And one of them was telling me the other day, like, yeah, I'm noticing this issue when I squat. Like, what do you think if we tried this? And I said, yeah, let's try it and see what happens and see if that feels better. So we're going to try that. We're going to try that next session, and it might not work, and it might not feel better. It might not be better, but on the other side of that, I've definitely had people say, what do you think if we try this? And I say, I don't think that is going to work because of this stuff. And I say, okay, well, I kind of want to try it anyway. And then I go, okay, sure. And then we do it, and usually it doesn't work. And then I go, yeah, you're right. Let's go back. Let's try this other thing. I say, all right, sounds good.
Right. Yeah.
But sometimes like they'll have good ideas that I hadn't thought of, and then we'll do it and it'll work out. And then I think, oh, cool. Maybe I can apply that to this other situation with another client where it kind of makes sense to do so. Because at the end of the day, they have a much, like, obviously they have hired me to coach them and do my job, but nobody has a higher incentive to understand each lifter's progress and situation and goals than that individual lifter.
Yeah.
The same as like, it does not matter how much time you spend with your doctor. Your doctor does not have the same level of involvement in your health as you do.
Right. Yeah.
It's just impossible. It is not literally not possible for them to have more of a vested interest than you do. I guess unless you don't care about your health, but
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That could really be a thing.
And now I'm thinking about that. Actually, I do know some doctors who are like, I wish this guy would like stop drinking so much pop because he has diabetes and he's going to lose his foot. And like the guy's just like, whatever.
Doctors, you've experienced that too with someone. Like, I see so much potential in so many clients where it's like, if you just stop doing this and then stop doing X and start doing Y, it wouldn't be that hard. But I get why it's a change. But if you would just do that change, nothing's stopping you. Like, and you just kind of want to.
Yeah, but you gotta remember that you don't know everything that's going on in their life, and their value system might be different than yours. Because it's really tempting. It's really tempting as a coach to make the lifting the most important thing in their life, but no one cares about lifting as much as you do in your gym. I guarantee it. It's not. It's not like, it's extremely unlikely that anyone is going to care as much about your clients lifting in terms of like their actual progress, and like driving that forward than you do, because you're not looking at all their other value systems. Or you're not looking at the full value system, So that's why I'm saying like it's really good for them to have input, because they see all of that in the context of their lifting as well. And so then they can make good decisions. Well, they can attempt to make informed decisions based on your guidance. And but with everything in mind, whereas like you're very tunnel visioned on just the lifting, which is natural. That makes sense. But that's why it can be frustrating where like, I've had people before that I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, if you stop doing this thing, and I'm trying not to get too specific, but I've had people in the past who have been like, if you stop doing this one thing, like your training is going to go so much better. But it's like, maybe that's important to them.
Right.
Maybe it legitimately is that important to them. And the lifting is not as important as that other thing that they do. But yeah, I absolutely have seen people in the past that I'm like, man, this person has so much potential. And if they really just fixed a couple things and really fully dedicated to the process, they would do so well.
Do you have members that come to y'all for things like nutrition or habits or anything like that stuff outside the gym, or do you refer that out to someone else who focuses on nutrition coaching?
People don't usually come to us for that.
Yeah.
That's not usually the starting place, but and I wrote an article about this called "Lifting Will Make You Fix Everything in Your Life." Basically, I think it's called "Lifting Strength Training Will Make You Fix Almost Everything in Your Life." Because if you start lifting and you stop making progress, then we need to look at recovery resources. We need to look at your habits, and like I know for a fact that the reason that a lot of people are changing their sleeping habits and changing their diet habits, and changing their drinking habits is because they want to see progress on the bar.
Right.
And so they incidentally sleep well, sleep enough, eat enough protein, eat more vegetables, stay away from sugar and pop, stay away from alcohol and drugs, because they want to see the weight on the bar go up. So it comes up, and we do have, like, day one, the first conversation we have on them is, you're going to be very sore tomorrow, because especially if they haven't trained in like, I would say even in a couple months, if they haven't done any physical activity in a couple months, I'll tell them, like, you're going to be really, really sore tomorrow, but you need to come back in 2 days and you're going to feel better. And in the meantime, getting some good sleep, getting some good protein, animal protein, eggs, milk, cheese, literal like meat and fish and stuff like that, that's going to help you recover, and the sleep is going to help a lot. So a lot of times we get into these nutritional conversations because they have certain goals like fat loss or continued strength improvement, or both, that are going to dictate that we have to have those conversations.
Right.
We have had times before, to kind of round out your answer to your question. We have had times before where we've been in a position where we're like, this is not a place for us to talk to this person that's outside the scope. Really good example is that we had a diabetic who was balancing both nutrition for strength training and managing diabetes. And we were just like, you need to talk to your dietitian about this.
Right.
Like we know what works well for a lot of people, but we don't know. We cannot give you recommendations that might negatively affect your diabetes situation, and you need to talk to your dietitian. And she had already had one at this point. So it was just like, yeah, keep whatever she wants to do. You guys just keep doing that, and we'll help out with whatever we can.
On the same notion, I like what you said about how it's really easy for us to, as the barbell coach, want to see people reach their potential of lifting, but maybe that's not their biggest goal. Maybe there's still other things that are essential, more essential than the lifting. How do you approach folks that maybe have, especially like a physically demanding goal that is outside of the gym? And that's even why they came to you. So like maybe they're into cycling or tennis or golf, something like that, and that's really their goal, and they're just trying to figure out ways to make that better. How do you approach that kind of client?
Well, I would say that's actually easier as a coach to like manage my own emotions and expectations, because I know, like, day one, I know strength training is going to take a backseat to tennis or golf or whatever it is. Right. And so it's actually like easier to, like I said, maintain those expectations and manage those expectations. So a lot of times it just comes down to, how are you feeling? Like, let's say it's golf. Like, how are you feeling out on the field? You're feeling good? Cool. Let's just stick with our programming and make sure everything's going well. And if they come back and they're like, yeah, I'm kind of achy, I'm having issues, and say, okay, well, let's address the nutrition side and the sleep, and maybe we'll have to manage the programming a little different. But it's always going to come back to, like, how are you feeling on the field? And are you making progress in the gym? Because if they're making progress on the gym and they feel good on the whatever the field or pitch or whatever the situation is, then we're doing well. And if they're doing well in the gym and they feel like shit on the field, that's no good. And we got to fix that now.
Right.
So I actually think that's almost like easier than someone who has like unknown or like unspoken kind of like side goals that I have to sort of like figure out in the process of talking to them.
You have to tease it out yourself and figure out why they never want to deadlift.
Yeah, well, I don't usually have a problem with someone just not wanting to deadlift, but it's usually stuff like how'd you sleep last night? Oh, I slept okay, but like I was out till 3 a.m. I'm like, oh, like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, I was just out at the club. I was like, okay. And so like I have to make a mental note of like, okay, that's important to them, and they've been doing this every couple weeks or every week or twice a week for the last like 2 months. So I have to sort of like make this mental thing of like, okay, that is actually a priority to them, otherwise they wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, it's not going away.
Yeah, it's not going away. And so we've even done stuff like, well, you're going to do this anyway because you like it. So why don't we make your light day like this next day? We'll plan in a light day on this the day after, like we know you're not going to sleep, or let's reschedule your times, that kind of thing. Right. So I don't know if that answered your question, by the way.
I don't even know the questions I'm asking. I enjoy hearing you explain all this stuff.
I think your question was, this is going to sound so stupid now because like people listening are probably going to know what the question was. or they can just back
Gus,
it up.
he said, Gus, they're yelling already.
Yeah. But no, I think it was just like, how do you manage people with outside goals? So,
right. Yeah.
Yeah. You just got to take it like whatever goal, you got to look at what the goal is specifically. And then, but usually it comes down to 2-factor model stuff. It's just like you've got your main sport and then your lifting, your strength training, or you have like outside social stuff or planning stuff, or like, like people with kids. Like, what do you do about people with kids? What are you going to do? What are you going to tell them? Quit taking care of your kids so your strength training can get better? No. You know what I mean? So
you mean that's not an option?
You just said, well, it is an option, but it's not a very palatable one, and I'm not going to recommend it.
Right.
And so you just work with what you see, and you try to program the best you can and make sure they're getting in. Really the biggest thing, like more than anything else, is the person coming into the gym the number of times that we all agreed on.
Yeah.
That's like if you can take nothing else away from this, and you're listening because you want to make your strength training better, is your technique needs to be solid and your consistency needs to be solid. If you have, if you planned on doing 3 sessions a week at your gym, and in the last month you missed 4 out of the 13 sessions that are in a month, you can't be doing that. That there's like all the other stuff you're doing in terms of like trying to fix your strength training, none of that matters. It doesn't matter as much as you just being in the gym the number of times that you said you were going to be in the gym.
Right. Tell me through the camps that you hosted Starting Strength Indianapolis, because that's how actually you and I met. I went up to a couple of camps up there, and I had great experience. And I think it's just kind of unique. I know gyms host events all the time, but it's usually things like a bring a friend thing. But I've never had like a camp experience like that. So tell me through how that started, and how that works, and how you think about those.
So the main sort of like educational product that Asgard, which is Starting Strength like HQ, offers is the Starting Strength seminar, which is a very long weekend where from Friday 5 p.m. to 9, I think this is right, 9 p.m. on Friday, there's a series of lectures. Saturday, I think it's from 7 to 8 p.m., 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. all day. And then it's 7 to 7 on Sunday. So it's a long weekend. And you're going through everything that's in the book, everything that's in Starting Strength, the book. It is Starting Strength, the book, the seminar, essentially.
Right.
Okay. And so you're getting all the stuff. You're getting hands-on experience. You're going through the 5 main lifts: the squat, press, deadlift, bench press, and power clean or power snatch, depending on what's going on with you. And it's this just huge educational event. And it's super encompassing. The camps are a much smaller version of that and highly condensed. So we've got a squat deadlift camp coming up next week, November 2nd. And that's going to be 5 hours long. And we're going to go through the squat, where we're going to explain all the details of the squat, everything that goes into why we do the squat the way that we do. And all of those reasons come back to increasing the amount of muscle mass involved in the movement, increasing the effective range of motion of the movement, or increasing the amount of weight you can lift, all of which is going to allow you to get stronger quickly and safely, more so than something that doesn't abide by those three criteria. Then we have each person do a set of 5 with the bar, and then another set of 5 with the bar, and then we just increase the weight for sets of 5 till we get to kind of a manageable weight, and then they either do 3 sets of 5 across or something else. It kind of just depends on where the person's at and like what's happening. I might even have them take weight off, because if you try to correct something and the weight's too heavy, they're just going to revert back to what they've always done. And so you might have to take weight off, you might have to add weight. It just depends. Usually it's 3 sets of 5 sets across, which means the same weight for all 3 sets. Then we take a little break, and then we do the same thing with the deadlift, and then we take a little break, or we don't take a little break, and then we go through programming and how you would organize the Starting Strength linear progression, we call it, which is how you decide what exercises you're going to do day to day and how many sets and reps and weight and all that stuff. And then we have a little Q&A at the end. So it's not even close to the level of detail that the Starting Strength seminar is, but it's a real, like, the technique wise, it is, you understand everything about why the technique is that way and what the details of the technique are, so that you can do it right. And then you get real hands-on practice with it, with a coach who's going to be able to help coach you through every single rep. So that's kind of what the camps are. That's how those function. And the squat and deadlift are always like 5 hours long. And a lot of times we'll go out to dinner after and hang out, or like a couple times like I've made dinner and just like asked my wife to bring it by, and then it's usually like a couple slow cookers or pots or something like that. And then we'll just sit in the gym and eat for like 20 or 30 minutes, and then people will head out, go home. So it's a really fun time.
That's the recovery lesson. This is what you're supposed to be doing.
Recovery.
Like now you eat pot roast and you enjoy it. And you sit down and do it.
We had one kid that was really light. I think he was like 17, and he must have been he was probably like 5'10" and like 145. He was very, very light for his height. And he was trying to grow, and he wanted to get real big. And we were going through the Q&A, and I was like, you're gonna need to eat some food. And I had made like 2 pans of like cornbread for the break, and during the Q&A, he went back over because there was a bunch left. He went back over the cornbread and just like took another slice like every 5 minutes. And he just really took it seriously.
Coach said, I gotta eat. Here we are.
Yeah, basically. Really took that to heart. I don't know. I don't think I ever found out if he continued to gain weight and get stronger and everything. But I try to maintain contact with a lot of the people after the camps, but sometimes you just lose touch, and some people just want to kind of have it be more transactional, but obviously you and I stayed in touch. So.
Well, I'm just going to keep emailing you every time I need to know anything. So
yeah, that's fine.
Abuse that privilege. You've actually always been really great at answering anybody's emails, right? That's the thing you've always done.
Yeah. I've usually been pretty good. I think I will be honest. It kind of depends on the composition of the email.
Fair enough.
You know what I'm saying? So I have had people who are they'll send me a video and they're like, what do you think of this? And I'm like, I don't even know
you. Anybody hunt you down from the Starting Strength forums or anything like that?
Oh yeah, a lot of people. Yeah. Well, my email is in my Starting Strength forums signature, so I invite it. You know what I mean? I want people. If you want to,
I really brought it up because I knew that was true. So he doesn't really hate getting emails. If he has
no. I love getting emails from people. I just appreciate appreciation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of people who have been very appreciative, and I appreciate their, working with them. It is honestly one of the greatest pleasures of my life to be able to help people and get stronger and improve their lives. We've got so many stories of how it's just changed people's lives. And if anybody wants to email me at alewis, which is ALEWIS at startingstrengthgyms.com, I'll definitely respond. I'm happy to take emails about what
proper punctuation required.
Proper punctuation. Yeah, exactly.
I think it's also a trend I've seen across. You're gonna get on me about.
No, I'm just joking. I don't actually care about. No, but it's more of people who are demanding my help.
Yeah.
Who are complete strangers, as opposed to being hey, I saw this thing online. Do you mind taking a look at my squat? Or do you mind? I had a question. Do you mind helping me out?
It's way more fun helping those people. Helping is great. Giving into demands not so great.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a very contrarian individual, and I don't like being told what to do. So.
That's also in the spirit of an SSC, I think. The desire to help, and also I'm not going to be told what to do. I'm going to tell you what to do.
I'll help anyone. Oh no, I would like to think of myself as a very generous person in terms of giving help to people and helping people when they need help. But I don't like being told what to do.
Fair. So just kind of the last general topic I think is the thing that drew me to Starting Strength was that I've been active in doing a lot of CrossFit. I tried a bunch of different stuff, but I had a hard time finding coaching that was very results driven. And what appealed to me about the philosophy of Starting Strength was this notion of we're going to get stronger, and if it's not making you stronger, you change it. Yeah, and the coaches that follow this are going to help you solve the problems. And those problems might be a little different for everybody, but we have this solid aim. And in the few years that I've been pursuing that, it just kind of seems that people are more and more on board with that. Whereas it may have been not contradictory, but some people would probably get upset about this notion of we're just going to get a stronger squat, a stronger deadlift, a stronger press, and that's sufficient for our exercise regimen. But I think more and more people seem to be kind of getting on board of this notion of when I get stronger, it fixes a lot of other problems along the way. Are you seeing that that philosophy is starting to catch on a little bit better, starting to get more appreciation to the general public? Or is it still do you have to have a philosophical talk to get somebody on board?
If they have found us, usually it's because they have selected themselves as this being appropriate for them.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody, like, there's basically 3 ways that people find us. It's that I meet them and we start talking about stuff, and I go, let's say, I met this guy at the UPS store, and he had asked about my shirt, and I was just like, yeah, tell me about your training. And he was telling me, and I was like, man, you got to come into the gym and we'll help you out. Like, we'll teach you how to squat and deadlift and do some stuff. And this is going to be the solution to a lot of your problems in the gym. And he was a young kid. He wanted to get real jacked, and I loved that. He was real passionate about it. It's cool. And he just was doing a lot of stuff that wasn't ideal, wasn't optimal. But the other basically 2 ways that people find us is through referral, where someone has a problem and they're like, man, I'm like tired of being strong. And like, I noticed you got a lot stronger. Like, what have you been doing? They're like, well, I've been training at this gym. You can come in and just come into my session with me, and you can come in for free and hang out and see what it's like. And then the third way is somebody has a problem, and then they Google strength training or personal trainer in my area, and then they go through and they look at our website and they look at our stuff and they go, this makes sense. I think this is worth at least a phone call or an in-person visit and just see what's going on. So to answer your question directly, I don't notice that I have to have a lot of these conversations. I've noticed I don't have to have a lot of these conversations because of the setting in which I meet these people. But I have noticed over time, having just talked to people in like more casually about fitness and strength training and stuff, that there has been this shift. And I think there's been a couple of reasons, which I know you didn't ask for, but I'm going to say them anyway. I think there's been a couple of reasons why this is the case. I think the lockdowns had a big part of it. And I think CrossFit had a big part of it. Like, we don't do CrossFit, obviously.
Right.
And we have some methodological differences that we don't agree on. One of the big ones is we add weight to our squat on a certain increment. And if you squat twice a month, how is your squat going to go up?
Right.
You know what I mean? How are you even going to get good enough practice at the squat to be able to make it go up reliably? But anywho, CrossFit has put barbells in the hands of more women, specifically more like 30 to 50-year-old women who would never have done strength training than any other factor on this planet.
Right.
And for that, we absolutely think that. And I did CrossFit for a while. I did CrossFit for about 2 years and then decided to stop and do pure strength training. And then the lockdowns, I think that proved, because a lot of people are like, well, how am I supposed to stay fit when I'm just sitting in here? And like, how do I get stronger when I'm sitting here? And I think a bunch of people realize that a lot of the body weight stuff and a lot of the not calisthenics, a lot of like the 5-pound dumbbells for a bunch of reps and air squats and like yoga wasn't getting it done.
Right.
So I think that, and a bunch of people were like, oh, I need to do strength training. Like, I need to figure out what is real strength training, because this isn't working.
Right.
And a lot of that comes down to like the reason that a lot of programs work. And I think a lot of personal trainers aren't punished more harshly for like poor programming and poor coaching. Just like the whole system is like not a good training system, is because everything works for about 6 weeks, like 4 to 8 weeks. You'll improve. If you have not been doing anything for the last 10 years and you start doing yoga or Pilates, you will get stronger.
Yeah.
That doesn't make yoga a good strength training program.
Right.
And it's not to say that yoga is bad. I'm not trying to say yoga is bad. But my point is like anything will show an improvement in your physiology, in your fitness for like 4 to 8 weeks. Right. So if you have a personal trainer who's putting you on a bunch of machines and then just counting your reps for 3 sets of 15 or 5 sets of 15 or whatever, yeah, you're going to make progress for a month, and then you're going to probably sign up for another month, and then you're going to plateau really quickly if you even continue at that point, and then you're like, what's going on? you know. So that's why we take very seriously the measurement aspect of the progress.
Right.
You know, any one of our clients can go in and go, this is my squat right now, and this is my squat a month ago. And one of those the current squat better be higher than the other squat. And if it's not, we need to have a very serious conversation. And I don't mean to like make it all dramatic, but like we need to have a conversation on why is that the way it is.
Right.
And sometimes it's because the client got pregnant. Sometimes it's because they're in a really hectic position in their job or their life right now. And so we kind of changed the goals where we were like, okay, aggressively adding weight to the bar is not a high priority right now. We just want to keep you in the gym, keep you lifting, maintain that strength. And then when you're out of this like hellish work or like life situation, we can start talking about more aggressively adding weight to the bar. So,
right.
Yeah, I think people have definitely started noticing that strength is very, very important. And especially, and I think this has always been true, but I think the avenue by which you get stronger has been disagreed on, because with I would say older women, because older women lose muscle mass and bone density faster and to a greater degree than older men.
Right.
And honestly, like older guys can just get kind of fat and just maintain their strength, like maintain some of their strength, and that kind of helps. Yeah. But like older women can't do that, you know.
Right.
So I think they start to notice it a lot more. And what that kind of usually manifests as is like they'll go in and they'll meet their grandkids 6 months after they've seen them, and they've gained 20% of body weight, and they go to pick them up and they're like, oh geez, like why is this hard? Like it shouldn't be difficult to pick up a toddler, you know. And so they want to make a change. Or really common one is people will go visit their parents and they see how frail their parents are, and they're like, man, I can't be like that in 20, 30 years. Right. I need to make a change now. So I think those populations have always understood it. But again, how you get stronger, they need guidance. They need education. Right. And a lot of places are like you and me are starting to provide that in a really clear and accessible way.
So if somebody's listening and they're ready to get started, how would they get started at Starting Strength Indianapolis?
Give me a call. Send me an email. Give me a call. That's basically it. You know, we'll talk about your goals. We'll bring you in for a session where we'll teach you how to do some of the lifts. We'll kind of assess where you're at. So part of teaching you how to do the lifts, we also are assessing how strong you are. So we don't really do dedicated testing. The teaching is the testing of how strong you are. And then we just explain the process and see if you want to continue from there. So yeah, give me a call, 463-240-6286, or email me at alewiS@startingstrengthgyms.com. So those are both my direct lines. You know, if you're not sure if it's for you, check out the website, check out Instagram. You can even sign yourself up for a free 30-minute session online, whatever time you want to make work. But honestly, I'm definitely like a people person in terms of like, I want to interact with them before we do a lot of sign up stuff. So, you know, if you have any questions or anything, just give me a call.
That's great. If somebody's out of town, do you have any space on your online roster for them?
Yeah. Yep, we do. That's a very situation dependent circumstance, because if you can get in-person coaching with a starting strength coach, I'm going to tell you not to give me money. I'm going to tell you to go to that starting strength coach, and then whatever, because we charge $275 a month for online coaching currently. And I'm going to say, whatever $275 gets you, go to this if you're next to a starting strength coach, go talk to them. And say, like, I've got $275 to give you. What does that get me? And just do whatever that is. You know, if you're in Ireland, or you know, Japan or whatever, then yeah, absolutely. You know, we're gonna set you up. There is no replacement for inline. There's no replacement for in-person coaching.
Absolutely. And anybody that has a chance to work with any SSC, I cannot say this for every coach I've ever worked with. I can say for every SSC coach I've worked with. every dollar has been not enough. Like they've always given way more than the value. Like you will get your money's worth with any SSE you can work with. So
yep.
That's spot on. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Andrew. It was great having you on.
Thank you. Yeah, it was fun.
Hopefully we can do more of these in the future. Can't wait to see you up in Indy again.
Yeah. Hey, come by anytime, man. We'll get some lunch or come train or something.
Sounds good.